Hiya, Benchmates. This is Beyond the Box Art, the official podcast of the International Plastic Modelers Society UK. Please welcome your hosts, Paul Pendleton-Brown, Mike Baldwin, Luke Flynn, James Nevitt, Mark Housley, and Paul Wong. And we are joined this episode by our colleagues Malcolm Childs and James Skiffins from Just Making Conversation podcast and Models for Heroes.
Hello Benchmates, and welcome to episode 6 of Beyond the Box Art. The plan for this episode changed as we were recording it, and it became clear that we would be dedicating the whole episode to our guests from Models for Heroes, namely Malcolm Childs and James Skiffins, on the work of the charity and mental health. There were some issues with James's internet connection whilst we recorded, but the subject, as you will hear, was not something we could stop and re-record. So please bear with it, and I think you'll be as moved as we were at the time of recording. Now, to raise the tone just a little, we have a new member to welcome for the second time. After recording his interview with us for episode 5, Luke Flynn from Mac Models YouTube channel has joined us as a member of the pod. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, yeah. Very happy to be a part of the team.
But before we start this special episode, we must take a moment to honour the life and legacy of a true pioneer of our hobby, Mr. Shunsuke Tamiya, the recently retired former president and chairman of Tamiya Corporation. Born in 1934, Mr. Tamiya joined his family's company after graduating from Waseda University in 1958. By the early 1960s, he was already shaping the products that would redefine scale modelling. In 1977, he became president of Tamiya Corporation and later chairman in 2008. For decades, he led the company with passion, vision, and a relentless commitment to excellence. Under his leadership, Tamiya became a world-renowned name, famous for kits that combined engineering precision, stunning box art, and an experience that inspired generations. Tamiya quality became a phrase that modelers everywhere trusted and admired. Yet, despite leading a global brand, Mr. Tamiya never lost touch with the joy at the heart of the hobby. He was known for personally welcoming children at the Shizuoka Hobby Show, sharing in the excitement as they discovered the world of modelling, just as we all did at some point in our lives. Mr. Tamiya passed away on July the 18th, 2025 at the age of 90. His legacy lives on in every sprue we clip, every RC car that roars across a track, and every beautiful built kit on our shelves. So as we start episode 6, we pause to say, Mr. Shunsuke Tamiya, thank you for your vision, your dedication, and for giving our hobby the standard of excellence that bears your name and influence.
Please visit modelpodcast.com because finding great modelling shows shouldn't be harder than masking a canopy. One website with all the best pods.
Models Without Borders is proud to announce that registration is now open for its first ever global online event, Virtual Model Exhibition 2025. VMX25 invites scale models from around the world to showcase their work in a fully virtual format that reflects the hobby's growth and diversity. Registration is $10, allowing each participant to enter up to 5 models. Builders can choose whether each model is evaluated, display only, or both. Evaluations will use MWB's skill-based system, which considers the modeller's goals, experience, and craftsmanship. The system is designed to support growth, celebrate creativity, and recognise achievement across all skill levels, without comparison or competition. VMX25 winners will receive a unique gold, silver or bronze award or certificate of merit. VMX 2025 is now open through to August the 15th. For updates and registration, visit www.modelers.org. Remember, that's modelers with 2 L's. And subscribe or follow Modelers Without Borders on social media. We wish you the best of luck and can't wait to see your wonderful creations.
It's time for the IPMS UK Dispatches. All the latest news and updates for the Society.
Okay then, Benchmates. Although we're holding most of our normal content over to episode 7, it's time for IPMS UK Dispatches. As Mark from IPMS is away recording a piece for the next episode at the Old Sarum show today, you have to put up with me. So here's your roundup of the shows, exhibitions and events coming up over the next few weeks. So grab your diaries and pens, here's what's on the horizon. Saturday the 2nd of August has 2 events taking place. First up is the IPMS Dundee Scale Model Show, taking place at the Boomerang Centre on Kemback Street, Dundee. Entry is just £5 cash, with under 16s getting in free as long as they're accompanied by an adult. There'll be competitions, displays, traders, a raffle and a cafe, though sadly for some of you, no alcohol. The show is sponsored by MS Paints and Accessories. Also on the 2nd of August, over in Hull, it's the Bilton Grange Model Club's first model and craft show, held at Bilton Grange Community Centre on Grange Road. Expect a great mix of trade stands and even a model railway, so well worth supporting their debut event. On to Sunday the 3rd of August, it's the IPMS Avon Scale Model and Wargaming Exhibition 2025 at the Thornbury Leisure Centre, Thornbury near Bristol. There's an open competition, free parking and easy access from both the M4 and M5 motorways. Entry is £6 for adults, whilst children under 16 go free. And this will be your first opportunity to meet up with a couple of us in the pod as well, as Boulders and myself will be present. So please come up, say hi, make yourself known, have a chat. We'll also have some show stickers to hand out if you will come and ask us. Jumping ahead to Saturday the 16th of August, we've got the Blue Lamp Model Expo 2025, hosted by the West Midlands Police Scale Model Club at Woodrush High School in Birmingham. Expect model displays, traders and competitions with refreshments on hand too. Adults pay just £5 with under 16s getting in free. On Sunday the 17th of August, the North Devon Model Show 2025 returns to the Park Community School at Barnstaple. This is the largest charity model show in the southwest, so if you're in the area, don't miss out. Doors open at 10 a.m. And finally, on Saturday the 23rd of August, we've got the IPMS Wombourne Model Show 2025, held at Kings Winford Community Centre on the High Street. Another great day out for modellers, traders and enthusiasts alike. So there you have it, plenty of shows to look forward to in August in the UK. Remembering for those overseas branches, the BeyondTheBoxArt.com website has events listed by nations and events. But if your event is missing, drop us an email at info@beyondtheboxart.com. Finally, if you're listening to this on your way to the IPMS USA Nationals, have a great show and don't drink too much. Especially if you're visiting our colleagues Mike and Kentucky Dave at the Plastic Model Mojo Dojo. We know how much Kentucky Dave can sink away. Allegedly. Joining us are 2 legends of the sprue and the mic. Malcolm Childs, founder of Models for Heroes, the charity that proves plastic can heal, and James Skippins, co-host of Just Making Conversation podcast. Also known as the man who is likely to derail a serious conversation with a dodgy pun and a roundabout standing sticks, internal replumbing and hobnob biscuits. Or for American listeners, that's a brand of high-quality cookie here in the UK, so heaven only knows why these two are eaten. Together, they've turned modelling into a mission, banter into a broadcast, and have done more for mental health with glue and paint than most with a clipboard and white coat. Brace yourselves, it's about to get inspirational and possibly a tad chaotic. Malcolm, James, welcome to Beyond the Box Art.
Thank you.
So he must be the legend and I must be the legend.
It's going to be one of those evenings, isn't it?
Don't listen to him. Thank you. That was very, very nice. It's amazing what AI can do these days.
It is.
It's very, very kind.
AI, thank you very much. Sean,
Your pictures look brilliant.
I was going to say, I didn't realise you were 21. You're only just a bit older than Luke.
Malcolm must have sent out those signed pictures because I didn't send any out.
But yeah, that was very kind. Thank you.
So before we delve too much into the serious stuff, how did you two first meet? And whose idea was the Just Making Conversation pod?
Oh, that was that dodgy lay-by, wasn't it?
Wow, I don't know if it was a lay-by a car park. It seems to be so long ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, generally it is with us too. So I don't really know where we bumped into each other.
I do. I think you contacted me because you want to be a volunteer, I think.
No, I knew you before the charity.
Did you?
Yeah. It was around the time when you were setting the charity up, just before you said you went live with it.
Was it when I was joining International Scale Modeler and that group?
It might have been.
Might have been around there.
I'll be honest, I've slept since then, so I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But we're just very fortunate in that we haven't got a court order against each other yet. But we just hit it off when we first met. We share a similar sense of humour and outlook in life to some degree. And often we can scarily know what each other's thinking before we say it, sort of thing. So it tends to create havoc as well as a good friendship. So
The chemistry is very visible, even on an audio podcast.
yeah, we get on very well.
Felt like with the banter.
That's unmistakable. So, and I'm very lucky with that in that respect. In relation to the charity, it just so happened to align with me in many different levels. And I, as soon as I knew about it, wanted to be a volunteer and get involved. So at that stage for Malcolm, he wasn't doing the checks quite well enough for the volunteers. So I managed to slip in, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's before we adopted best practice and reference checks and everything else. And so he's still here.
I'm just not allowed out often, that's all.
Okay. So, can you walk us through the origins of Models for Heroes and what inspired its founding? Specifically, was there a particular moment or individual story that drove home the idea that scale modelling could become a therapeutic tool?
Right. Okay. So let's take you back to 2016. And my daughter was starting school. And I was a stay-at-home dad. And so she was going to school. So what am I going to do for 8 hours a day? Obviously, yes, I could do modeling. But no, I needed a job. I needed to do something. So while I was doing that, I decided to volunteer, because that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it? When you're looking for a job, you show that you've filled your time. So I went down to Tedworth House, which is in Wiltshire, I think it is. Yes. And down there, they have Help for Heroes, or did. They're still in Wiltshire, but they had a big recovery centre and they had lots of different activities and they were looking for volunteers. So I applied. And while I was there, I found out they did model making. So I was just going to go down there and help them out with like gardening or something, different activities and things. But they had the model making. So I was like, oh, let's have a look. Anyway, it was awful. It was absolutely shocking. They had a cupboard full of started model kits. They had enamel paints. They had acrylic thinners, and their paintbrushes looked like chimney sweep brushes, not little boys.
Yeah. Small children, all blackened up.
Yes. Yes. There was none of that. So I said, well, you can't learn model making. You can't do model making with started model kits. You can't do it with all the wrong bits and pieces. So I said, I'll go away and I'll bring back a little stuff. So the next couple of weeks, I sorted out their cupboard with all new kits. I sorted out their glues and their paints and everything else. And I set up a little sort of 3-day, so there was a club in the end, but what it really was like a 3 days to go along and people would stay over at the recovery centre and do other things. But during those 3 days, for a couple of hours, you'd be model making. So what we were doing, we were building 1/56 scale trucks, which I don't have here because I've been tidying up weirdly. We were building a little 1/56 scale Rubicon trucks and then put them on a picture frame and making a little diorama out of them. So I teach them how to use the glues, how to put the plastic together, how to sand all the edges, how to make the dioramas as simple as possible. A bit of mud, have a bit of grass, stick a tree on it. I've got people go out and find the best tree. So it was their homework for the next day. It's find a twig that looks like a tree, which we all do. And it was incredible, actually, how much people enjoyed it. And in the evenings, usually they would sit in a TV room, or there was a lovely area to walk about and in the evenings and stuff. But people wanted to go back into the model room to finish their models off, which I thought was great. And also, it was a sort of a shared interest in vehicles as well. So you'd get guys there who would be working and building on something modern and British, and remember the good old days when, tracks were tracks and tanks were tanks, that kind of thing. And people would have lots of knowledge about these things too. And suddenly their knowledge of armor, or their interest in these things, was relevant and gave them purpose. Yeah. So that was something that we hadn't really picked up on or thought about when we started it. It was just kind of something to do, really. And then all these little things, little benefits, built up, and then people wanted to do more and more, and people wanted to set up a club. The other recovery centres around the UK got in contact and said they wanted to start up sessions, and I can't drive to Chelmsford every day. I can't drive to Catterick from where I live every day. So I had to find people to do that for me. So I started making friends in all sorts of places that might want to go along to these recovery centres and run modelling sessions. And that's where all the volunteers started. And because we were getting banks and banks of kits and funds and all the things that you need to do when you're running volunteers, you need to start having to do insurance, and you have to start checking to make sure they're in the right place when they should be, and they're not saying the wrong thing, etc. So you have to then have governance over the organization that you have. You have to start employing best practice and all those boring things. So that's when Models for Heroes was born, and we incorporated in 2017 as a community interest company. And the rest is history, I suppose, is what they say, because it keeps growing.
How many different areas are you actually doing it in now? How many little classes have you got, or whatever you want to call it?
I think the last count was 65. So there are 65 separate face-to-face groups. Yeah. So they're not in recovery centres so much. Some of them are in organisations that have activities. Some of them are in village halls. Some of them are in British Legions. One of them is in a Wetherspoons in the afternoon. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant place to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No music, though.
Okay. Yeah. So all over the place, cafes and all sorts of things. And you basically just need a couple of places to sit, a table, light, and a place where they don't really mind the smell of glue.
And on average, how many guys do you get in a session?
Average is about 5. I think that's enough.
Yeah. Well,
too many, and it becomes noisy and completely negates the whole point. It just becomes a noise wall.
Is it mainly armor they do?
No, aircraft, armor, figures. Lots of people now are starting to do Warhammer, fantasy figures and things like that. And that's really grown recently. Armor is certainly popular. 135th British Modern is what we never have on the shelves. And that's because nobody donates it because they want to build it, and everybody wants it. So we never have it on the shelf. So it's all sorts, and sometimes it's nothing to do with military. That's one of the things that we ask is when we speak to a beneficiary, a new one, we ask them what they don't want to build, because perhaps it was reflective of the reason that they left. Perhaps they had a bad time and they don't want to think about the stuff. They might just want to build railways, or they might want to build cars, or something completely different.
And when these people come to you, how long do they kind of stay with you as coming back over and over again? Or
well, some people kind of settle into it, and that's part of their routine.
Keep coming.
Yeah. Some people will come along until they feel better and they don't need that kind of support anymore. Or some people just kind of drift out of the hobby and then drift back in.
I'm assuming it's all ages, all kinds of people come in, yeah?
It is, yeah. We're open to all ages, males and females, any backgrounds, but it does tend to be males of a certain age. And that's just the way it is. It's not a demographic that we focus to, but it's just.
And it's probably not guys that always did modelling as a kids. They're younger because it's not a thing they do these days. Youngsters, really, is it? It's not.
We used to buy kits with our pocket money.
Yeah.
Matchbox kits over the weekend, 3 colours in the plastic, and have a great time. And that's what you did.
Best 75p you'll ever spend.
Oh, yeah. That's right. In old money. But I don't know what the kids do now. We don't know what they do with their pocket money.
Yeah, I don't know. Pocket money for me actually did go into model kits for quite a lot of the time. So, yeah.
Quick question, Luke. What did you actually get for pop? How much did you actually get? Because I remember the last time I got it.
What is it? Is this weekly or monthly or?
Yeah, on a Saturday morning, my dad used to give us, maybe £1.50.
Yeah, Saturday morning for me was a £5. So, yeah, it was a kind of slowly kind of one kit a month sort of territory, and that was the sort of idea. But other than models, don't know, food, I guess, spending money on, or some actually online currency. That's probably quite indicative of the not like Bitcoin or anything, like stupid like games sort of things like on War Thunder or whatever you play. That's I think where quite a lot of youngsters' money probably goes nowadays, but not that young.
For me, it was like me 175 or whatever spent quick, and then by Saturday tea time, it was built, deckled, and finished. Covered in glue and God knows what, but it were done.
Yeah, and you had a great time.
Oh, I had a great time. Yeah. Stunk the house out. You do.
So that's the thing we want to get back. That's what we push for. We don't care what it looks like. We don't care if the wings are backwards. We don't care if the undercarriage are on top. That happened once. We don't care. What matters is the enjoyment of building, the process of putting glue and putting things together and getting through those instructions and building up something to look like the thing that it's on the box. You've got that thing. That's the fun. And pushing paint around and all that. And in that time that people are building, we'll teach people, you might want to clip those little knobs off the edge of that fuselage so everything fits better. And you might want to use a sanding stick to, maybe a bit of filler, and build it up that way. But yeah, that's how we started, and we keep on growing.
I think the group thing helps as well. And me as you know, modelling is a solo kind of hobby, isn't it? Really, when you're at home and you're surrounded by all your paints and stuff. But I can quite easily lose interest in a model or whatever I'm doing with something. But when you're in a 2 or 3 of you there, you kind of G each other on a little bit, don't you?
Yeah.
You see what your mate's doing, and he has a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it. It can only help.
Yeah, absolutely. It's shared difficulty, because some of the kits are difficult, some of the kits are frustrating. But when you're with someone who's got, a brand new pair of tweezers and they say, hey, have you tried holding it this way? Or have you tried using these magnifiers? Or have you tried putting a light on? That might help. Little things like that, and we also have a couple of unwritten rules, for the groups as well, so that they kind of gel. And so hobnobs is one of them. Yeah. So in the hobnobs all the time. There's always has to be hobnobs on the display table if we go to a model show or something. Even in the session reports afterwards, volunteers have to say whether their hobnobs were freely available or not. It's an important analytic tool to find out what biscuits we use. But also, if someone drops a part on the floor, which happens, every 30 seconds, everybody has to get down and find it. And get involved in finding someone else's part. And because that way everyone can get back to model building pretty quickly, rather than have one person searching around for an hour trying to find a wheel. And everyone always says the same things. They go, oh, right, I dropped something. And they go, right. What's it look like? Well, what does it matter? If it's something on the floor that shouldn't be, it's probably that. And we've got to develop loads of different techniques for finding parts on the floor. Like you use your mobile phone torch and shine it across so that it casts a shadow, so you can see whatever's on the floor. If you've got a carpet, then forget it. But things like that we do, and creates a camaraderie and a team, which is what these guys are used to.
Really useful tip for finding pieces on the floor is a handheld vacuum cleaner and a part of a lady's stocking put over the end of the crevice tool with elastic band, and you actually go and actually vacuum up. And the number of times I've actually rescued parts that I couldn't find with my eyesight, that trick has worked.
Oh.
It works really, really well. It's a trick my old man may have taught me back in the 70s. Yeah. But yes, it works. It sounds daft. It works.
Oh. Okay. So a handheld vacuum cleaner.
Handheld vacuum cleaner, the stocking or whatever you over the end of the nozzle, and plastic band, hold it on, switch the vacuum on, and it'll actually, as you're cleaning, actually get your components, and it doesn't obviously shoot up the tube.
Yes, gotcha. We should market one, stick our stamp on it.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Right next to the pen.
Yes, yeah. So Models for Heroes scale reference pen. As well as the Models for Heroes stocking. The whole idea of stocking filler, wouldn't it?
Quick question then, with regard to the groups that you mentioned. Is there a list on the website of where these groups are? How can you actually apply to be a member of the group?
So the website, if you log in or register with the website, then you will be able to see the locations.
Which the web address is?
modelsforheroes.org.uk.
Fantastic.
Heroes spelt with the E at the end, not Heros. Happens a lot. Eros is something completely different. It's a type of fish, also a Greek god. So we're nothing to do with fish or Greek gods. Now, Models for Heroes, HEROES.
And how did you find all that out? Obviously, you've been typing it wrong yourself.
Yes. Well, people say, I'll send you an email. You never got it. I go, oh, gosh. Yeah, James is pointing to himself. Yes. I'll send you an email. You never got it. So, well, you probably spelled something wrong. And then you find out that, yes, they spelled it without the E or with an apostrophe, or they put a number 4 in instead of 4,
FOR.
Yeah. We have actually spent money on buying the domain Heros as well, so that when people do write it in wrong, it does now come to us.
Oh, that doesn't help my dyslexia at all, does it? If I type it in incorrectly and it still goes to the right site, I'm not going to notice.
True. Well,
good. I'm glad you did that. No, that's good. I'll take that back. It's a positive thing. Be positive.
It's not all about you, though, James. It might be other people.
It's not all about him. Of course it is.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that's how it should be. But yeah, I might suggest that to my work actually. See if they can buy the domain closest to misspelling the domain and put it down as the part of their disability process. Anyway, sorry.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. But yeah, modelsforheroes.org.uk, and then if you then register, then you'll be able to see the locations. We keep it that way so that we're not blabbering about where we are and what we're doing.
Makes sense.
You have to go search for it, and log your email address in.
Okay.
And then you'll see it. There's a map. You click on each point on the map, and there you go. It gives you the details of where it is, when it is, who the email address of the volunteer that runs it. So you can pop an email and say, hey, I live up the road. I'd like to come along. I'm a veteran or emergency service worker, and I like modeling.
Okay. Do you actually have any affiliation with any IPMS branches?
Affiliation? Yeah, all of them. They all know about us. So we go to all the IPMS shows that we get invited to. Go to Scale Model World. A lot of IPMS groups will raise money for us, or they'll do like a yearly collection of model kits and send it to us. The IPMS as a organization have been very good to us. Yeah. I'm very accepting of what we do. So that's great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you ever come to the Bolton show?
That's one that I don't think we get invited to.
Hang on a second. Let's just ask the show manager.
We do have somebody from Models for Heroes turn up. I'm absolutely 100% sure of it. Heather?
Ah, right. Yes. Gotcha. Yes. Yeah.
I just had to think of the name then, but yeah.
Yeah. Is that, yeah, that's right. So
it's One Day Show Ever.
I think I got Stoke-on-Trent mixed up with Bolton, but yes.
They're not as good as us.
When you do, 74 events a year, which is what it was this year, or is this year, then you start to get them mixed up a bit.
Happens at your age.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but IPMS definitely. And what we tend to do is, if we have a beneficiary at a certain location somewhere in the UK, we will look up where their nearest model shop is, where their nearest model club is, whether it's IPMS or not, and give them those details so that they can get involved and further the hobby beyond us, because we can't help everyone forever.
Yeah.
But we give them that springboard into the hobby.
Fantastic.
Can I just ask, the guys that volunteer for you, are they, that help the guys out, are they ex-service guys, or can they just be any sort of modeler that can happy to give up time?
Well, as James can attest to, any Tom, Dick and Harry can be a volunteer. You don't have to be serving. No, not at all. In fact, you don't even have to be a good modeler. But you do need to understand some aspects of mental health.
I'm just looking at James smiling, Dan.
Yeah, I just wondered, was that a dig?
No.
Not in the military, and I'm not that good a modeler, and I can attest to it, apparently, because he did say that earlier. So that's all good. No, you don't have to be serving military or remember the civilian services, because we cover those as well within the charity. So I'm not ex-military. I used to drive an ambulance, but it was passenger transport. It wasn't emergency. That's the closest I come to it. Where someone like me maybe helps or benefits to the beneficiaries and to the volunteers is my experience with mental health. So I've suffered from mental health and will freely talk about it. It doesn't bother me at all. I've had it for a long, long time, longer than I actually realised as well. And I've used model making all of my life to deal with anxiety, depression, the disabilities that I joke about, the dyslexia and other bits and pieces that I have going on with me. But I've always used model making as a way of getting away from everything around me and just giving my brain a rest. Because unfortunately, as those that will listen to the podcast and will know me will know, I go off on tangents regularly. And that's because I don't look at something and go, oh, that's quite nice. I can think about that for a moment. I have to go and think about it and then revisit, rethink it, go backwards and rethink it. Except I could go on and on. It's just lots of ways in which my brain operates, unfortunately. But Models for Heroes also, which you haven't covered in what you said so far, Malcolm, we as a charity, we went through a big change for the COVID, obviously, because we couldn't do face-to-face. And that's where I got quite heavily involved with Malcolm, because we then started looking at how can we do stuff online? Well, how does that work? And as somebody that does or did hangouts and that sort of thing online, building those sort of community sort of things, I helped Malcolm. I wasn't in charge of it in any way, shape, or form, but I did help. We found some alternative bits and pieces in which we could use, or that the charity could use. And obviously we had to very quickly convert our face-to-face to online. Very short period of time and in a constructive and focused manner. And we were very, very lucky that we've got some great volunteers and beneficiaries, because remember what you were talking about, the travel of people that visit the charity. One of the other things that happens is quite often a beneficiary will then become a volunteer because they've got so much out of it. They understand the processes, the problems and all that all sort of stuff, and they can relate to the people that are coming in. So that's a really, really important part of that process of offering the help, is you often will find, because there's very much a team spirit, they want to give back. They always want to find a way of giving back. And even as someone that's not military, I've had that back from beneficiaries and volunteers myself in spades. So it's just how we are within the charity. We're very, very tight, very, very looking out for each other in many aspects. And the fact I'm a NAF modeler I'll pick a few tips up as I go along, I suppose.
Well, it actually leads me on to a question that I've been pondering for a while now. So many studies have highlighted the value of creative hobbies in trauma recovery. What evidence have you seen, anecdotal or clinical, that modelling helps with those with PTSD or anxiety disorders? Have you worked alongside mental health professionals or gathered data on outcomes with regard to Models for Heroes?
So the NICE guidelines, I'm assuming people know what the NICE guidelines are.
For those outside the UK, because at the moment our largest audience is actually in the USA, believe it or not.
So NICE guidelines are basically the guidelines to do with all things health in the UK. It's what the NHS use to guide for different things. Like if you have hay fever, there's a NICE guidelines for treating it, basically, that sort of thing. I can't remember what it stands for. Maybe we can look that up. But NICE. But yeah, in the NICE guidelines, it does say when they talk about mental health and well-being, certainly with older people, it literally says to provide the opportunity to socialize, involve arts and crafts and other creative activities, relate to hobbies and interests, education and other learning opportunities, and provide opportunities for volunteering. That already, is pretty much what Models for Heroes does in terms of hobbies, interests and volunteering. It basically says, get out there and do the things you like doing and you'll feel happier. And it doesn't take a doctor to really tell you that, I guess. But also the research that has been done, there's actually done some research back in 2023, which was literally about scale modeling. We had beneficiaries that were given a survey before they sat down to do a modeling session. And it was basically about their mood and how they felt about the world and life and themselves. And then they were then asked the same questions afterwards. And there was a distinct increase in mood after a modeling session. And that was recorded and written up, and it's a proper journal. It's in the, I think, Occupational Therapists Journal, something similar. The details of that are also on the website under the About and under the Research under News. But I can give you a link if you want that.
Yep, anything like that we can actually put onto our socials as well. Not a problem.
Just so you're aware that just in case anyone is trying to look up NICE on the internet, the NICE stands for National Institute of Health and Care Excellence. So clearly spelt by someone with dyslexia because they missed the H completely.
Yeah,
no H.
NICE with a silent H.
Yeah, silent H. Yeah, I typed in NICE and ended up somewhere in France.
Oh. Nice.
I mean, you're talking about anecdotally. I mean, I can attest to the fact that for me, as someone that suffers from anxiety, overthinking and all that sort of stuff, and that's what brings on the anxiety. The one of the things in which I get and I promote to people is that by doing a model, whether you're alone or in a group, you're concentrating on the function of sticking bits together and following instructions and making sure the parts are sanded or, you've not got gaps or anything like that. And your brain is completely focused on what you're doing. Now, if you're sitting in an online hangout or a group where there's 5 people sitting around a table, a lot of the time you're sat there in silence. That's fine. It's not a problem. The problem with human beings is they get very awkward with silence. They feel that they must fill that silence. And that's part of the problem from my mental health issue is that it's the noise in my head I have to silence. By doing model making, it silences all the other things that are going on in my world at that moment because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. The fact that I might have someone in a hangout with me who we might be shooting the breeze about something completely different to what we're actually doing, which is more than often the case. It's a slight disturbance from what I'm doing, but it is a controlled disturbance, if that makes sense. Whereas if you pack all that away and I go and sit and start thinking and going down the route of being over anxious about something, all of a sudden the noise in your head is not controlled. It becomes a point where you've got lots of different elements all popping around everywhere, and it's disturbing you specifically in functioning throughout whatever else you've got to do. So from a personal point of view, I can attest to the fact that that's what I've done. And like I said earlier, I didn't realize I've been doing that for many, many years. And it wasn't really until getting to know Malcolm, the charity, some of the research and bits and pieces, and then reflecting that back on my own experiences that I realized that's what I've been doing.
That makes perfect sense.
I've just been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it was a weird thing for me because I just thought I was weird. It was just sort of just me doing what I do, you know, and you kind of get used to it and you mask. But you're right when you're with other people, I find that helps me tremendously when I'm just chatting, and I can get on with stuff. I don't know why that helps. I always used to find that I'm lucky enough to work from home, and I sometimes got customers that would call here. While I'm sort of working on the bench, I fabricate stuff out of lead. I supply the roofing industry with bits and pieces. And when customers come to my place, and I used to literally just say, do you mind if I just get on with this while you're here, while we're chatting? Mm-hmm. Because I found that used to help me, like, it was unbelievable help, really. You know, I'd get on with stuff. I'd actually get something done.
Well, see, I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was about 7 or 8. And at the time, I was diagnosed by the Dyslexia Association. I then had to go to the local authority for their test, which they said, oh, well, you're clearly not. So I then went back to and that happened 4 times. And on the last visit to the authority, they went, well, you know, I know you've had these tests, but, you know, you're definitely not. I actually said to them, no, I'm sorry, I am, and I don't care, and I walked out. What then happened was my auntie was a teacher, and she was going through the first ever training to do with dyslexia.
Can I just ask, how old are you?
Oh, I'm 154. No, I'm 50. Yeah, I'm 50. What am I? I'm 54, 55. Hang on, let me cut my leg. I'll just count the rings.
I only asked because for me, I was 63, I was born.
71, I was born.
Where I live, in Manchester, dyslexia wasn't even a recognised thing. You know, I mean, it was luckily for me, the teacher at my primary school realised that I was way behind everybody else. Yeah, I wasn't a crazy kid in the class, you know, and I got sent to remedial school to help me, and I went on 1-to-1, and that's where I was first diagnosed with a dyslexia and a numerical one as well, which was, you know, it's terrible.
Well, this is the thing, is that why I say I'm fortunate is because my auntie came with a great big pack of stuff to give to my mum to explain to her, you know, what potentially I was going through, because it was so not understood. And luckily, there was a A4 piece of paper on there that my auntie showed me, and I was able to say, yep, that's exactly what the problem is. What it is, if you can imagine an A4 piece of paper with writing, just normal writing like a story or whatever, and the word in the centre of that page, 100% clear. Every other word on that page moving around in circular motion all the time. So that means every time you read a word on that page, you had to focus on the word, each word, which slows you up. And I couldn't read out loud, you know, it just wasn't something I could do. I just couldn't deal with it. And I had chalk rubbers thrown at me. I had my hair pulled and all sorts. I did have hair at that time. That's where it went, you know, and it was totally misunderstood. And even to the point that I went through senior school with the knowledge that I had that knowledge that I was dyslexic and I had problems. They hadn't, as far as I remember, I don't think anyone ever talked about a numerical similar thing, which I'm now aware of, which I'm sure I probably got that too, because he'd quite often my hand in hand. And it was in my last year of senior school that my English teacher threw me out of the class because I was disruptive, a pain, and I lost my temper with her. And she said to me, you know, you're such a bright kid. If only you could keep your mouth shut and do the work, you'd manage. You'd do really well. So I gave her that pack from my aunt and threw it at her and said, and if only you could read that pack, you'd know what I was going through, and walked out. In kudos to her, that's exactly what she did. She went home and read it that night. I got called out of the class the following day by her, and her apologising to me saying, I didn't realise, I didn't know anything about this. What can I do to help? And that was the only subject that I got a very, very high gradient. And if I'd taken action earlier, maybe my results would have been much different. But we've gone off on a completely different tangent. But yeah, so model making is proven beyond all these ways. It's not just model making. It's any mindful exercise where you're concentrating, you're taking your mind out of your daily life and you're focusing on something, often something in which you're making, because then you have something at the end of it where you can then celebrate the fact that you focused and you've made an achievement. It's a physical, tangible, touchable.
So my first question would be, do you offer different kinds of modelling projects for different needs or levels of engagement?
Yes. Would you like me to elaborate on that?
Maybe a little bit more than one word, yeah.
Yes, we certainly do. And that is a organic process, really. It's not something we sort of plan. I've got time to plan anything, but it kind of comes out of people getting interested in certain things, like the Warhammer stuff, get interested in, or chats we have when we go to model shows or festivals and displays. We've got a recognition group build running at the moment where all you have to do is get a World War II or World War I or any aircraft, any vehicle in 1/72nd or 1/76, paint it black, and then at Scale Model World or some other big show, we're going to have a big tablecloth full of these little black vehicles. And then we're going to do like a little competition where you have to name them all. You know, like you see the World War II posters with all the different aircraft.
The recognition silhouettes. Yes.
That's it. Yeah. So, that's really easy to do. And so many people have 1/72nd stuff that they haven't finished, or they didn't want to finish, or they couldn't get past it, for whatever reason. So you don't have to worry about the pilot. You just paint it black, and hand it in. And as long as we know what it is, so then we're fine. So there's that little group build going on where anyone can join, who's inside Models for Heroes. We're doing, an exhibition with, Games Workshop in Nottingham, at the end of the year, where beneficiaries that have benefited from being part of Models for Heroes can, put in their figures, and they'll be shown in the exhibition there. We've got a couple of things with the charities coming up too. There's a group called Mission Motorsport who do a Scalextrics track, and they go around different places. Did anyone go to Key Model World this year? Yeah, they had a Scalextrics track there, Mission Motorsport, and we've been talking about building things to go in all the little grassy areas. And I have told people that if you build something to go on that Scalextrics track, they might get Scalextrics cars chucked at them. So, but people have come up with doing figures and things like that, people in the crowd, making crowds, everyone does a 1/32nd figure and sticks it in the crowd, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's always little group builds, stuff like that going on, and little projects like that. Also the figure painting stuff that we're doing as well. We've got a company called 3D Gizmo. They've helped us out with some 1/16th scale figures, and we're doing a lot of, figure painting. We've got a really good figure painter as a volunteer called Rob Herring, and he is doing almost weekly online figure painting class. The progress and the confidence that he is instilling in some of our beneficiaries is incredible, because so many people say, I can't do figures. I'll do the vehicles, no problem. But when it comes to doing the faces, I can't do it. But he will show us how you do it. And there's a couple of just very simple techniques. One of them is slow down, slow right down, thin your paint, and then thin it again. And once you thin your paint, it's not thinned enough. That's one of the key things. But yeah, I digress. Yes, we do. Yeah, loads of different things to all different people who have different interests in armor and everything else.
I mean, different interests and stuff aside, is there any instances where you find yourself potentially tailoring what you provide in terms of project to certain individuals, whether that be, conditions, injuries, or physical limitations and dexterity and stuff like that? Or is it just kind of whatever they think they can build?
Yes. I always want people to not be scared of modeling. That's a kind of a hurdle people have to get to or get over when they start. And it's always kind of there for some people. I remember when I got, you can just see it there, the little Millennium Falcon kit. I was scared of that when I got it. That was 5 years ago or so. And I didn't want to start it. And I wanted to get all the tools and all the paints and everything before I started it. But it's not about the tools and the paints. It's the confidence to put those paints on the thing. I didn't have. And you can only get that once you've made loads of models and made loads of mistakes. And that's what I wanted people to do, is to make the mistakes and learn and not be scared of models. So I don't have any worries about giving people difficult models as long as they're gonna build. But in terms of like do you mean like their skill or their limitations?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I think, I know me personally, I never probably take on too many 1/72 or 1/144 kits just because my hands don't do that.
Absolutely. So it is a hard hobby. It is frustrating, and everything is really small. If you want to go skiing, you have to find a downhill. If you want to go skiing really fast, you need to find a really steep hill. If you want to go skiing on the flat, it's not going to be fun. That's the way I look at the hobby. Not skiing, but that's the way I look at the hobby. Like, if you're going to do something difficult, you'll get the satisfaction out of it. Don't skip anything. Do all the little bits that you're going to put inside the model, because it's the fun of putting the stuff together that is the magic. Yeah, it's not the finished thing. So yeah, it's hard. Yes, it's frustrating, but there are ways around all these sort of different things, like doing 1/44 scale foot pedals. Things like that is hard, but you do 1 foot pedal a day. There's no rush. There's no time limit, and slow down and just enjoy the process of putting things together. If you mess up, fine. Move on to the next stage. No one's going to know if the 1/44 scale roller pedal is not there. But in terms of like people's limitations, we do have got a couple of things up our sleeves that we can provide people who have, like the shakes, for instance, or arthritis, or if people have poor eyesight. Poor eyesight is one of the main problems. There are ways around that, and we can provide those things to help mitigate those difficulties and challenges. But yeah, it is a hard hobby, and things are tiny. And often people say, "Can I have something bigger?" And I say, "Yeah, sure. You can have a 1/35 tank. It's got every single track link is separate, and you got all the interior. But yeah, everything is more tiny. It's got a lot more of it. The 1/44 scale kit, you're looking at 6 parts perhaps for the fuselage and the wings. Depends on the kit, of course. But
Malcolm, they're my favourites.
Yeah,
quick builds. Yeah. What I find is with kits with masses of parts, the journey in actually building it can become quite strained as such, because you feel that you don't achieve anything. I mean, hats off to all these tank builders who do the track links and the pins and things. I couldn't do that. It just drives me bonkers doing something like that, because I don't feel as though I've achieved anything. And yet, I could get an aeroplane like, the Bobcat that I've used, and it's only got 15 parts to it, and you can build it in an afternoon, which is AKA going back to Matchbox Day. But I think certainly picking the right number of parts, complexity of the kit itself certainly helps in that journey in getting there and achieving something.
Yeah. And also building something that you recognize as well and you want to build. That's an important thing. If we just send out random kits and somebody's sat there with a Heinkel and they don't know what the hell it is or the history behind it or what it is, they're not going to be interested in building it. But, you give someone a Spitfire, they might recognize it and say, oh, actually, I remember seeing one of those flying over the other day, and they've got an affinity and they've got the drive to build it as well. When you talk about the larger kits, we always try to remind people about the instructions. The instructions are set up in steps. So first week, maybe do step 1. You don't have to finish it in a day. If you get that first step done, then well done. Well done, you. Congratulations. You have completed that first step. You might have your differential built. You might have your gearbox done, and that's a model in itself, sometimes. I don't know if you find that, James, when you're building more complicated kits, you turn it into sub-assemblies so that you get that kind of buzz that you've completed something.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day with all kits, once you go over a certain scale, the way you put them together, you generally put in subsections together, painting them and then put them into another part, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, that's definitely the case. But also to just pick up on what Paul said in relation to we would never do tank tracks. You'd be quite surprised how many people say that, but actually end up doing them. And the reason is that it's the thought of the process of doing the process and all that. I'm the same with the tank tracks. It's not something I've done per se. It's something I dread. I've got several kits that need to have that operation done, but I'm going to do it at some point. But if you say to me, "Oh, can you scratch build something? Can you scratch build a 1/35th wardrobe out of some bolster wood?" Yeah, no worries. I'll go off and do that. That's a lot more complicated than fitting some pins into some tank tracks. But there's a lot of people that will go, "Oh, I couldn't do that." No. But it's just understanding. It's just a process. All it is, it's just a process, which you can, certainly I know from beneficiary wise, that as a tank track sort of scenario, because it does come up. Someone will sit there and go, "Oh, I've done this much." Yeah, well done. Great. You're that much further along than you were yesterday. So it doesn't matter how many tank tracks you put together. And if you do a dozen tank tracks and you put them to one side and go, "Do you know what? I need to go and shave my hair and make a cup of coffee because I feel like I've lost the will to live," and then come back and do a 172nd aircraft or a 156th Rubicon kit, which you can knock up in a couple of hours, depending on what they are. And that's got an awful lot of detail on some of those kits. Yeah, and that's the thing to remember, is that Malcolm has sort of said this, but a lot of beneficiaries go, "Oh, I don't want to do anything with small parts. So can I have something like big?" You're like, "Yeah, but all the big kits have got small parts."
And more of.
So it's overcoming those. Yeah, more, and there's an awful lot more to it. It's overcoming those obstacles that we all put in front of our builds. Malcolm's alluded to it earlier with his Millennium Falcon. It's because the subject matter is something that's really important to me. Really, really likes that subject. Really, I don't want to muck that up. And there isn't a model maker out there listening to this, or in the studios, or even just turn up to a show or going into a local hobby store, who will not pick something up and go, I really want to build that. But they'll put it in their stash and they won't build it because they're too scared they're going to muck it up. It's too valuable a kit. Or how many excuses can you think of as to why you've not built that kit?
Plenty.
Endless. So I think that's, and that's part of the joy of this charity, is that, Malcolm sends out a box of stuff to people and says, there you go. Good luck, crack on. Or you can come and join us in a hangout, etc., which they do. They do both. But sitting in a hangout with the ability to feel a little bit more relaxed, and like Mark was saying about, it's a slight distraction while you're coding on this project, and that sort of helps. Or of course, there's I'm stuck on this. I don't know what to do. How do I get around this?
Yeah.
In terms of where you have your build group, and I guess all of us have been through this in some sort of shape or form, it's when you lose the mojo building something. How do you keep them going?
Can I just jump in before you answer that, Malcolm? I think one of the things that's really, really important with the beneficiaries, and it is no different to the beneficiaries and the volunteers, they're the same. The mojo thing is a thing that happens all the time. But the one thing in which is really, really important, that it's all right not want to build something right now. The online sessions, or even the face-to-face sessions, that might be all it takes. There might be an obstacle within your build that you're like, I can't mentally get over that. So I don't want to do it. My mojo's gone. I don't want to. But if you go to the sessions and you sit with the guys, sometimes there is certain, I can think of beneficiaries that I've seen this happen, where they're sat there, they're just talking, having a bit of a laugh and a comment, chat about strange, weird things. Got no intention of model making. I'm not in the mood. By the end of an hour session, on an online session, certainly, you can see them fiddling with something. They're not making, but they're fiddling. They're planning. They come to a point where they're kind of, I can figure this obstacle out. And that's really, really important. And that's one of the ways in which you get over the mojo thing is the community support, the support of your fellow model makers, beneficiaries, or volunteers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think if people lose the interest in doing it, either, just sit and chat, that's what we're really there for. The model making is the catalyst to bring people together. We could do flower arranging or crochet, or, making a beautiful throw like you have on the back of your chair there, Paul.
Oh, thank you. My mum did this, by the way.
Yeah, my mum does those too. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is, it is the getting together as a group of people, because you wouldn't lose your mojo for like meeting up with your mates. You might lose the interest in building a lot of kit that's taking a long time, But just joining up with somebody, you wouldn't lose your mojo so much for that. So that's kind of the thing that I think I would suggest if someone loses their mojo for a model is just, get on the blow with your buddy and have a chat about it, or put it aside and build something small and easy, like a little Bandai kit or a Gundam or those tank ones. Yeah, I mean, also, James, as James said at the top of that, he says it's okay to lose your mojo. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Just do something else for 5 minutes. But yeah, always do try and sit at your workbench as well. Just put your butt in there and then just get chatting to people. Put a podcast on or something, or, just sit down at the workbench and end up doing something.
That's the other thing as well, of course, is that if you're lucky enough to have a space in which you do model making in, and you've lost your mojo and you're like, I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going in that space. That then creates a second obstacle in which you've got to overcome. Because you've now got to overcome the fact that you've got to go to the bench.
Yeah.
Then you've got to do the model making. So, and I think that's one of the things a lot of people don't realize with the mojo question, because it's a constant question, constantly comes up. What's the best kit for a mojo build? Or the answer is to find the barriers that you are putting up to not be doing model making. And they could be quite legitimate barriers. Like, for example, you've been in your model room for the last 6 months, every single waking hour of the day, and your partner doesn't know who you are anymore. So that barrier needs to be overcome. So you need to go and spend some time with your family and your partner, and that takes away that barrier for you to be then allowed to allow yourself, not be allowed by your partner, but allow yourself to go and have that time to yourself. The other thing in which I would say as well, one of the things I've learned over the last 12 months, a lot more than I knew already, but didn't realize as much, was the community in which we are in is a very strong community, luckily, but they're happy to invest in what you're doing as well. So it might be a case of getting the right decals on a particular aircraft because it's an aircraft that you worked on, maybe, or it's a particular moment in history in which you're trying to create with a model. You're investing a lot of time in that, but the people you're with will also invest with comments of, oh, did you realize that the color of the cockpit wasn't that color? It was this. Between March and April, it was a slightly off green instead of a green. Or, do you know what I mean? It could be anything. I don't think we readily realise quite how invested we are in everyone else's models as well, because we're communicating all the time about stuff.
Yeah, you want to know how it's going as well.
Yeah,
that's another mojo builder. Someone asking how he's going. Just chatting about it.
I think I might need some help with my catamaran, actually.
I think sometimes just finish one, just get a simple one and finish it. Get it together. That can help.
Got a stash of Matchbox kits. Break glass when your mojo's going. And I take one out of the cupboard and have a quick look at it. And there's not that many parts, but there's enough parts to keep you occupied. And there's been times where, right, I'll just build it. No paint, just build it like you used to do, where you deep the colours in the kit and you put the decals on it and it just looks like the side panel of the box. And that was quite satisfying, One of those weird things that you don't get the hang-ups of, I'll ruin it with my paint, or I've ruined the decals now, and I've purely built it for what it is, which is a toy kit at the time.
Yeah.
That was the enjoyment coming out of it.
Yeah.
And it puts you right.
Yeah. I think that's important, isn't it? To remember why we're doing it in the first place. Luke, did we answer your question?
Definitely. And you even answered my second question, which was pretty much all about, as we've mentioned quite a few times this evening, modelling in groups, which is something I personally haven't actually really thought about doing or have done. So it's something which I'm going to have to probably venture on. But I think, now that we've talked about it, it is such a important thing. And I think, as we said about Mojo, other people's influence on it is, in my opinion, 10 times more important than your own. I mean, I'm in a weird position where I've got so many different people telling me what I want, what they want me to do and stuff like that. And I naturally feel happier with a build if someone, if I've almost been told by someone else to go and do it, which is a weird thing, but it just puts a little bit of not pressure, but direction into what I think we do. And I think that's just so important, to be honest, in this weird black hole of a hobby. So yeah, no, I think our conversation has managed to definitely cover my two questions anyway.
Brilliant.
One thing I would add to that, Luke, as well, we talked about communities and not modelling alone. One of the things I've learned over the years is I obviously used to had no affinity with computers at all, hated the internet, etc., etc. So I used to sit in the front room with a tray or at a desk and do model making all by my own. And it was very much a me time, blah, 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 blah. I then found forums where you're looking. I went to forums to look for advice and help and that sort of thing. Posting up my own stuff and going, oh, well, this is what I'm doing. It's a little bit of people saying, oh, well, that's interesting, or you've done that wrong. Try this, blah, blah, blah. But the forum group that I always went to, unfortunately, after 6-7 months, just disappeared and then came back as a different type of different name of forum or whatever. So I then went to Facebook and found online stuff, Hangouts and all that sort of stuff. And I can't tell you just how much that transformed my hobby, because not only is that now not, because I'm not a sort of person that goes down the pub. I used to be a publican, but I don't go down the pub to socialise. So socialising is limited for me in that respect. But the fact I can sit here, do my hobby and socialise, it costs me nothing, etc., is just phenomenal, and has really changed my outlook on my modelling, my outlook on my skills and what I need to learn, what I can learn, etc., and being able to find that information readily, because people are always willing to give you advice and help, always. Sifting through it all and making sure you're getting what you need from it, whether it be the right advice or the wrong advice, it doesn't matter if that's what you needed and what gets you to the next step or whatever you want to do, that's fine. But yes, certainly that social element makes it a whole different thing, because now when I go to a show, it's not about me walking around a show looking at models and, well, that's quite nice, that's nice. I'm now talking to people that have made the models who are then telling me how they've made the models, or I'm getting advice on, what's the best riveting machine to create rivets, or, I want 1/35 hinges. Where do I find them? How do I make them? All those sort of things. You can sit and trawl the internet all day long. And if you don't Google hinges, not good.
No. But also you're meeting your friends.
Yeah.
When you go to the model shows. It's not about the models anymore. You're meeting your buddies.
That's it. The last few years that we've been going to Telford, it's about the social element. It's not really about the model, and which is sort of good, sort of bad, because it is about the models. That's the whole point of putting the thing on for 2 days. But the social side of it is so much more important. And once you cross that barrier, again, another barrier, and it becomes a more sociable thing for you, it opens up the hobby an awful lot more in many different ways as well, because you're then talking to people about subjects in which you wouldn't necessarily go and look at or even attempt. And before you know it, you're doing tracks on hawker areas and God knows what, because you've gone insane and decided to do something completely off track.
I think that's certainly true in that with the likes of Scale Model World, you can just walk up to complete strangers and go, that's brilliant there, how did you do that? It breaks the ice, doesn't it? That's the thing.
I tend to find most of my time there is just chatting and meeting people that I've not seen since God knows when, and before I know it, I've got an hour to scoot round just to have a quick look, see what's on the tables, and
you're like, oh, there's models here, Mark.
This might be difficult for Luke and James because they are young, but if you guys remember when you were young, you used to go down the pub and have a drink and socialise, right? And the one thing you had in common with everyone in that room was you were all drinking. So you had something in common. So why don't we realise that my hobby is model making? So I've got something in common with another hobbyist who's a model maker. Why wouldn't I go and hang out with them? It'd be really difficult to walk into a pub, grab a beer and go, right, who makes models, without getting out of the building, without being very hurt. Right? But there's a lot of people make models who still do it quietly without anything. And there are people that go to the model show. There's hundreds of thousands of Telford that just walk around. Don't try not to interact with people too much because they're looking at the models. But that's because they some cases they still sit there and model by themselves. They've got their child with them that they may be trying to encourage into the hobby, or mum's just desperate to have a day off without the children. You know, it's quite amazing how many people out there are still like that. But it's a whole new world with that community out there. And the internet it's a flick of a switch. It's in your room. You know, you haven't got to go anywhere. You haven't got to spend money per se on it, because it's, you know, you've already got internet for your Netflix and for your PlayStation games and all the rest of it. Why wouldn't you use that tool?
I think something that's quite a valid statement a friend of mine told me many years ago. When you go to a model show, a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. And I think with this hobby, it is very, very true in that as soon as you start talking about the subject that they've built, etc., you've almost immediately got a rapport. And you'll start having that conversation, and it's just breaking the ice to actually have that initial conversation. It's just so key. Also, going back on something you said earlier, James, I think it's a very valid statement that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to actually recognise that, and to actually just reach out, and rather than just sitting in the silence in the room on your own, etc., go online, go onto Facebook, have a conversation with somebody. It just will actually, change your mood and your outlook at that time. Unbelievably so.
Yeah, it's difficult, don't get me wrong. I personally am always told, even relatively recently at work, that it's very strange to come across somebody who's so open and willing to talk about the issues that I face, that I know other people face, etc. But it's so refreshing and so empowering. I'll give you an example, got a little bit slightly off kilter, but I'm a process at the moment with my mental health that I'm going through a bit of a bad phase, nothing major. I'm in control of it. I've taken steps to mitigate it, etc., etc. But one of the things I've done is I've gone into work, and my supervisor does find me sometimes a little challenging, because I am challenging. But I made a point of saying to him, oh, just so you know, I might be a little bit snappy, as you may have noticed over the last couple of weeks. I've just started some counselling, but just so you know, I'm going through the process. Any questions or anything, ask anything you want. But also, more importantly, I give you permission to, if I'm being an arse, say, James, you're being an arse. Wind your neck in. Yeah. So it's about taking ownership, and this hobby and the communities in which you're out there are just another tool in which for you to take that power.
Can you tell us about a specific participant or story that exemplifies the difference Models for Heroes has made in someone's life?
Oh, yeah.
Someone who perhaps rediscovered a sense of purpose, confidence, or connection through the hobby?
Yeah. I have spoken to too many people that said that they would not be here if it wasn't for Models for Heroes. That's this really scary thing. And when I was told that the first time, it took me a week to even contemplate what that meant. But it just, the idea that it gives you a reason to get up in the morning. If you are unemployed, if you have just been kicked out of the army, and you have no idea what you're going to do, you don't even know how to make a dentist appointment, you don't even know where the GP is, how the hell are you supposed to ask for help? And then just having something that is an interest is really powerful and can keep people off that edge. So yeah, that's a really strong one. But in terms of actual people, I think I won't mention names, but I remember one guy who was building ships, was ex-sailor, and he had a stroke, and so he couldn't work anymore. But not only could he not work anymore, he couldn't do the hobby of building furniture, things like that at home. And he had a grandchild, and he wanted to build her a table and a chair, like grandparents do. It's just thought, no way. There's no way I can do that. I can't even use my hands. And so not doing those things anymore meant that his mental health was starting to slip. He was finding himself, saying, oh, I'm useless. I can't do that anymore. What the hell am I going to do? But just getting into Models for Heroes gave him little bits of extra confidence that he could actually complete that model. And actually, that's not too bad. I've done a good job with that. And then so much so that he picked up his tools in the end in the garage, and he built a little table for his granddaughter. And he's still with Models for Heroes, and now he's a volunteer because he recognized that confidence that he was lacking and the confidence that needed building back up again to build something and use tools and not mess up. And, he's a volunteer, and now he goes and takes that message around, a kind of a cliched thing when people say, but he does. And he gets a big kick out of volunteering too. Whether he's still building furniture or not, I don't know. But he's still building some amazing 1/16 scale tanks.
Just rolling off the back of that one, Malcolm, how do you ensure a safe, inclusive environment for participants, particularly those that may be nervous, newly diagnosed, or feeling socially isolated?
Okay. Yeah. So the main thing is befriending, I suppose. So if we have a new beneficiary coming to a session, I would recommend that the volunteer meets them outside rather than indoors. So they might have 7 or 8 faces you've got to face. So if I meet you at a car park, we don't have to go in. We can just meet you in the car park and say, oh, hi, this is me. How did you get on with your kits? Did all right? Good. If you want to go in, we can. I'll introduce you to everyone and you can leave whenever you like. It's having that knowledge and that emotional intelligence to empathize for somebody else who's struggling and to give them that opportunity. And all our volunteers, we try and give them mental health first aid training as well. This is a 2-day training course where it just teaches you to listen, basically, and shut up a minute and just listen to what someone's talking to you about. We're all taught to talk, have something to say, have something to fill this time with, ask somebody about themselves, all that kind of thing. But we're not taught to listen. And that's where the power is. Ask someone how their day is and just wait until they're done. That's great. That's really kind of a relaxing kind of anti-anxiety technique. But I think, just putting yourself in someone else's shoes is really important, and spending the time with that person and letting them go at their own pace.
I think it's good how you have beneficiaries becoming volunteers because they've gone through that process. They can understand it better than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And they understand it so much so that they want to impart it onto somebody else. And they want to spend, because volunteering takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of your time. This is not just the 2 hours of modelling or 3 hours of modelling. It's the doing the session reports after. It's making sure you've got the kits that you need to go in the morning, that kind of thing. It's extra stuff. So it's a time investment as a volunteer, and it's an emotional investment too. It's not always easy. Having that drive to want to do it is important. And I'm quite proud that beneficiaries want to evolve, or butterflies, into volunteers. It's good.
Oh, that's excellent.
Sorry, Bong, I was just going to say, a bit similar with the cadets.
The air cadets for everybody else, yeah.
When you've got people that have obviously, the Royal Air Force Air Cadets, I'm obviously a volunteer there, I'm an instructor, and we do the same, we do modelling workshops, because it sort of gets kids out of the shells a little bit, it gets them to open up, and we don't just do aircraft, we do same Warhammer, ships, planes, tanks, and you can see that it sort of brings them out of the shell a little bit. They start to get a little bit more relaxed, and modelling has always been one of the better hobbies, because half the time they're glued to a screen, if it's on an Xbox, PlayStation 5, and they sort of lose the social skills. We've got a massive room that, we set the tables up, get loads of kits out, and then just get them to start building. They're like, am I doing this right? And it doesn't matter if they get it right or not. It's just, like you say, throwing a bit of plastic together, and they're just having a bit of a...
Where do you get your kits from, Mike?
Our kits, we've got a massive stash in the squadron that was donated by somebody who was an ex-civilian instructor, and he'd left it in his will that all the kits were donated. So they're currently stashed in the loft on the squadron. So there's hundreds up there, mainly 72nd. There's a few 48.
That's not
just gives them the chance to build, and and then they start making friends as well, because everybody comes from a different background. Some come from families that are that are parents are both working, and then you've got families that for whatever reason they're not able to work, due to disability and stuff like that. So it's from different backgrounds, and then they start talking to each other and they start opening up, and then you find that because they're doing it, it just makes them slightly closer. And like you say, I've always said the Royal Air Force Air Cadets is the world's best kept secret, because it just brings out the best in people.
I've got another question for you guys, if that's okay. With the growing awareness within the emergency services and the military with regards to mental health, have you seen any support from the likes of NHS or armed forces? Do they reach out to you guys, or do you reach out to them?
Yes. So we take referrals from the NHS trusts around the UK. We take referrals from the big armed forces organisations, AFOs. We take referrals from anyone that is professional and interested, or has an interest in somebody's well-being. Yeah. So caseworkers and GPs as well can refer directly to us. There's a thing called a social prescription, where a GP feels like, if just joining a running club or something might be beneficial for somebody's knees. That's probably the worst thing for someone's knees. Sorry. Go swimming, right? Someone comes in with bad knees. They're putting on weight because they can't run. They can recommend them a swimming club instead of arthritis medicine.
In terms of that, then, where you've been referred to by these various organisations, do you get any bit, because it is, models for heroes. We've got heroes in the armed forces currently serving. Do you have anyone currently serving who reaches out to you?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, not so much now, but certainly during COVID, definitely, because there was nothing available that we could. But a lot of the charities had to close and stop because of furlough, and they weren't allowed to volunteer at the same time, and so a lot of charities had to stop. But us being the way that we are, we were able to carry on. A lot of the serving people got in touch with us, mostly just the regiments, but also like the medics as well that were still working and training as well. We had what was Op Nightingale, the big NHS hospital. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the medics there were isolated. They could only kind of hang out with themselves, and they were going a bit loops. So, someone suggested that they did like a model thing with Models for Heroes. So we sent them a load of kind of strange kits and got them on with it. They had the best time. They got together and they built a 1/32 Spitfire and stuck it on the back of a drone and flew the drone around and filmed it like some sort of Battle of Britain. Right. And it was incredible because they really had to get the balance just right. And so they spent all this time getting it all right and then just kind of flew around 30 seconds and crashed. Another person got a Phantom kit and then took a photograph, photoshopped them and their Oppo in the front seats of this Phantom and made this amazing vista of them kind of escaping the hospital. Yes, certainly do. Yeah, we certainly do.
That's escapism at its very best, I think.
Yes, quite literally. Yeah. And, they obviously they weren't building these models to the very best of what could be built, but they were really enjoying it and getting a lot out of it and, just enjoying them. Yeah. So the referrals can come from all sorts of places.
So, Malcolm, James, looking forward, how do you hope and where do you see Models for Heroes expanding? Is it going to get bigger, or have you reached the pinnacle of what you need to do? Where do you see it going?
I don't have any more time in the day to do more stuff. I don't have literally the time to organize more events or take us to different places and do things. So I'd love to have, if someone's out there who's like, oh, I want to take over Models for Heroes and let you have a break, that'd be good. But I don't get paid. That's the other thing. That's why we're all volunteers. It's entirely volunteer led. So everything from like the website and writing the policies and organizing volunteers and all that sort of thing is all done by volunteers. So it would be great to have the funds to be able to pay for like a manager or a coordinator or something. That include that or somebody who can write the grant that would then pay for somebody. So that kind of expansion to have employees would be great and have the ability to do that. But at the moment, everything that we kind of raise goes straight onto buying glue and tools and all that kind of thing.
So it's all donations and goodwill, which keeps Models.
Yeah, it's hobbyists
for Heroes going.
It's people in the hobby who understand what we've been talking about and the benefits of it. And, like Mike, you were saying that the donor that you had, he got it. He understood. He completely got it. And he, his stash wasn't wasted. It's given and it will, those kits will be built one day,
Yeah, absolutely. Looking for generations to come as well, because we know somebody that used to shop in the Manchester model shop who passed away and all his stash got skipped.
Yeah, so that does happen. And it's because councils just don't know, I guess, especially if there's a council.
I think the other thing to answer your question, Paul, which Malcolm won't necessarily advocate to is one of the most amazing things about the charity and what the volunteers and beneficiaries achieve as a group is that obviously Models for Heroes is UK based. However, Malcolm himself and what he's put together has inspired a similar group in Europe, as he's inspiring people now to try and put something together in Australia, in America, and other places. I believe I had a conversation with someone. Did we have a conversation with someone that they were thinking about doing it in Sweden? Or am I imagining that?
Ooh, I know there's a podcast in Sweden, but I don't think anyone wanted to set it up. Certainly there was one in the Netherlands.
I know there was somewhere else. I know there was someone else, but you've obviously got Netherlands, scale models for vets. And that's, it's not a goal. Don't get me wrong. It's not something which Malcolm has set as a goal. However, one of the things I do as a volunteer mainly now is like obviously joining the sessions and bits and pieces, but we build up for a yearly event where it's a global event. It's not a UK based event. It's a global event. So promoting the charity and the benefits the charity provides, the benefits of model making, the community, etc., etc., etc. They are very, very, very much passionately driven by myself and other people on a daily basis, which has offshoots that come out in different guises and different ways. I think certainly in the last year or more, to have people from different places around the world approach us. Can I help? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I donate this? It's quite amazing. And even some companies have made very large donations to Models for Heroes for many different reasons. But the fact that they know they can find a home for that donation and know that there'll be a beneficiary that will benefit from that, and also what it then brings to them as well. It's a two-way street, you see, because obviously when I do my promoting and bits and pieces, and I know Malcolm does the same, if a company like 3D Gizmo mentioned earlier, if they donate and support the charity, we'll make a point of making sure that we say, that's come from 3D Gizmo, or that's come from some Rubicon is another really great promoter and pusher. Salisbury Model Centre is a model shop that has a big influence into Models for Heroes in different ways because the owner is a volunteer. So all those different things is really, really important. Every year for me personally, but also I know Malcolm does as well, promoting what we do, increasing the amount of people we help and the awareness of what is every day the goal, basically, and to look into the future. Don't get me wrong, it would be amazing to have lots of charities like Models for Heroes are dotted around the world, but Malcolm's not in a position, nor would he want to, I think, be coordinating all those different things around the world, because he does work.
Malcolm's shaking his head. Yeah,
he works his absolute cods off for what he does, and the team required to do that would be immense, absolutely immense. But it's really refreshing to have conversations on. I think every 6 months we end up having a conversation with somebody somewhere, either me or Malcolm, where they're, it'd be really good if we got that in our country, or it'd be good if we did it in this. I mean, even to the point in this country where, oh God, who were we talking? I was talking to someone not that long ago, and they were talking about Coast Guard. Is Coast Guard included in that? Yeah. It's an emergency service. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's some good kits out there as well.
Oh, well, yeah. Subject matters improving in the modelling world as well for it. But yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing, and the more people that get to know about the charity, the more you tend to find they're very, very passionate about promoting it. And I work on the railway, so I see veterans on a daily basis. And I can honestly tell you, every time I see them, I'll say, oh, do you know about Models for Heroes? I've got a poster up not far from one of the windows that I work at. Look, and all that. But it's not just that. It's I've got people that work in my head office or in the BBC who I serve on a daily basis, and it comes up in conversation. I go, "Oh, do you know, I know somebody whose uncle Charlie's daughter's friend Bob, that will help him." So it's just creating those connections, and if you can imagine it a little bit like Avatar, where you've got all the nice pretty lights of the roots, the connection between the trees. That's what we want to create on every year, and we want that root system to develop more and more and more and more every year.
What's on your bench, James?
Just a small project that I might be working on at the moment. Yeah. So, no, it's not secret at all. No, it's not secret. So, I'm pointing for those that are watching it in Technicolor. I'm pointing to a T-shirt. No, so last year, about 13 months ago ish, I had a triple heart bypass. Was quite unwell, had a heart attack and all that malarkey. But I set a target and a project that I wanted to achieve. And the idea behind it was, crazily, there was a particular kit I liked, which was a 135th Akaki bridge. So that's the flight deck of a Japanese World War II carrier, border models, which comes with a Kate or a Zero, depending on which we buy. I really like the kit. I really want to do something with that. But we were talking earlier about the fact that I'm a complete loopy tune. And I decided that one flight deck wasn't clear enough. So I need to do at least 2 hangar decks underneath it. And I need to do a 0 and 8 because it's only fair to have both of them, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so this project has developed. But I sat and planned it while I was in the hospital bed. When I say planned it, I thought about it. I didn't really plan that much. And I promised myself that after I got to my year anniversary that I would start the build, which is what I've done. So I've now created a monster that I'm going to build. There's no time limit. I started building it on the anniversary of my operation, which was the 4th of June. And the reason for that, unbeknown to me at the time, I've got a T-shirt on and a cup. And basically, it's the sunrise logo over the mountains of Japan, and it says 0742, 4th of June. It just so happens to be the moment that the only bomb that hit the Akaki carrier from the Americans' dive bomber was at 7:42 on the 4th of June, which also happened to be the same day and date time, not year, just the 4th of June. That I had my open heart surgery. So that sort of forced me into making sure I did it. And we are now doing, we just done a second round table. So we've got a round table every other weekish, something like that, where I'm getting modelers into my YouTube channel to discuss certain elements about how the design is, how to make things, how to detail it, etc., etc. And for this the scope of my planning is that someone said to me about 5 weeks ago, how many figures do you think you need for it? And I was like, I don't know. But we worked out, and if I go really mad, it's triple figures. If I go basic, it's about 80. So there's 80 figures to do ish. We might slim it down a little bit.
Do the kits come with any figures?
No, they're all separate figures. But the really good thing, the bit that I haven't mentioned about all of this, and one of the reasons I've chosen to do it the way I'm doing it is because as a volunteer, I didn't realize the impact that I may have made to our beneficiaries, because when I've been quite open about it, as with everything, they've all found out I wasn't well, and the support I've had from the beneficiaries, the charity, I haven't had anything from the charity. What I mean by that is by Malcolm and the senior team, if you like, of the charity, but the volunteers as well, asking how I am, can they help, can they do anything, etc., etc. The physical help, it's not been a lot, but there's been some physical help that was volunteered to me without even me asking. The the psychological support has been enormous. That sense of community, like I was talking about earlier, I've just been absolutely gobsmacked by the amount of support I got from the people of the charity and friends of the charity as well. That has to be said. So I wanted to celebrate that. So my only way that I thought I could celebrate is I wanted to do this mad diorama, which is going to be enormous. It's going to be 3 decks, or 4 decks if you include the island. It's going to be the moment of the operation, but it'll be the moment of the bomb exploding. There's been no cotton wool in any way, shape or form to make that happen. So because the way that...
So what, are you going to kind of show the bomb going through the deck before it just explodes?
No. So basically, if you look at the actual history of the attack, the bomb just falls just past the island, the superstructure on top of the aircraft carrier, just past the lift that's just past the island, which wouldn't be in the model. So what I've chosen to do is, because the model's up to the edge of the lift, what I've chosen to do is I'm going to build those sections, and the only sensible way, I say sensible, not it's crazy, but the only way really is to do object light source painting. So there'll be no cotton wool. It'll all be painted and effects like that. Lighting, I want to try and avoid lighting if I can, because it's just a bit of a ball ache. And also, it might look really good on my bench, but when I take it to Telford, which is the plan at some point when it's finished, with my experience of LEDs and stuff in lighting dioramas, being in a big environment, it might cost. So I've got to try and make sure that doesn't happen. So the only way in my mind I can figure that out is by painting it, which is going to be very difficult and tricky. However, with that said, I've now made a decision, because I've got a load of figures. I've actually got 44 figures just behind me. You can't really see, but yeah, 44 that were delivered from Hong Kong this very last week. I've spoken to the manufacturer of those, and they've agreed to support me in the build with some more figures and some other bits and pieces as well, which is amazing.
Yes, good.
But then that gives me the opportunity where actually, you know what, I haven't made it official yet, but those people that are beneficiaries and volunteers that help me, I want them to help me with the build. So I'm going to send them some figures to paint. And I'm going to also, which Malcolm doesn't know this yet, and certainly the person I'm about to, well, I won't name because that'd be unfair, but a person that's really good at figures, I'm going to ask them if they'd be willing to do some sessions so we can get a sort of a standard approach to how we paint them, maybe. I've got to have those conversations, but the idea is to involve the community that helps support me. So it's no longer just my diorama. It's about everything. So the idea is that it's 3 levels. And this build must reflect the journey I've gone through over the last year. So there's going to be horror, there's going to be shock, there's going to be stress and worry and concern and carrying on and all of those different elements are all going to be within that diorama. God knows how, but they will be. But I'm really, really...
That's a lot of emotion there. Yeah.
It's enormous. It's enormous. But the amazing part is that we've done these round tables, we've done 2 of them now. And I got in touch with Bill Huffman, who's a diorama whiz kid beyond all belief. He's just one of his biggest fans. Got involved. Martin Drayton, who is quite new to the hobby in the community side of things. He's been doing the hobby for a while, but he's really inspirational in the way he looks at certain subjects and comes at a slightly different angle. So I've got them involved. Chris Meddin's going to get involved. I've got loads of people. I've got people that make films and documentaries to help me understand how to create the drama of the diorama. We're going to investigate that. We're going to investigate the mental health side of things with some experts and people and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to incorporate all the different elements within those roundtables and then the build itself as well. So that's part of my process of me and it's about me healing and coming to terms with who I am now, because I'm not the person I was 12 months ago. I'm very, very different. Still come to terms with that. And the trauma involved in that. But yeah, it's just, I just want to showcase what the community does, what the charity does, because it has really made a massive effect on me as a person over the last 8 years, which the charity's been running. So, so that's, and also, of course, with the fundraising and stuff that we do, we like to do a little bit of craziness there too. So that might help. But yeah, so that's what's on my bench.
Are you the sort of model that'll just concentrate on that one thing, or will you sort of put it to one side every now and again just to do something else, just to sort of clear your head or whatever?
I generally will model to the point where I've hit a barrier. And I sometimes need to walk away from it because I can't cross over that barrier. Luckily with dioramas, as those that make dioramas will know, there are always lots of elements within a diorama, depending on how complicated you make it. So you can get stuck on something of the vehicle or airplane or whatever. No, I'm going to put it down to one side. I'm going to go and concentrate on a figure or, I don't know, beamwork or whatever. I generally will have a few things going at once. And then there'll also be on top of that, some idiot said, could you do a group build about something or other? And I'll probably pull something out to do with it as well. So I tend to have a few bits and pieces going on.
And of course, you got the other distraction of the Mooseroos Cup coming to your desk very soon.
Yes, well, we may, as a team, do a curveball on that, but we're going to wait until the parcel is on its way. Yes, I'm not going to say very much on that at the moment, but yes, I'm looking forward to. Mooseroos is always a great challenge, and again, this highlights the whole community thing. You know, certainly is that third one or fourth one, Malcolm? Third one.
What's the challenge this year?
Don't know yet. It's a cardboard box.
15th of August.
But yeah, it's evolving because it's involving more people as we go along and stuff. And scarily, the abilities of the model makers involved is just really going way out there. And again, there's another community thing where there's the challenge, there's support, and all the podcasters will talk to one another over the period that they build that we do anyway, but especially those doing the build will have a chat and swap a few ideas and bits and pieces. There'll be a bit of secrecy, of course. There's always a bit of secrecy and a bit of poking at fun and stuff, especially with Americans, because they're really...
Have you done one before?
Yeah. Well, we done. Malcolm did the last one, which was a submarine. But please let's not talk about that because.
No, we don't talk about
that. The one before that.
Yeah, that sinking feeling.
Oh, it brings tears to his eyes. The one before that was a 172nd Russian truck, I think.
Yep,
Urals. Same to you as well. What was the one before that?
Was it the Mustang?
Yes. 172nd Mustang, which Malcolm did, and then there was one before that we did, but I can't remember what on earth that was.
That was the Gundam that you painted the hex scheme on.
Yeah. So yeah, there's you never know what they're going to send you, and I've got an awful lot, but that distraction might be good. It might be, going back to the Mojo thing, that might be well worth it. I'm certainly going to be, a lot of swapping and stuff going on the desk.
Who's going to build it out of you guys?
Yes, guilty as charged.
That's Brownie. Yeah, well, let that volunteer step forward.
No, the rest of you took one step backwards.
Was that
step back? Yeah.
Was that forward or the step back was not?
That's exciting. It's a great project. It's a great thing because you can make loads of content out of it, but because it's an international thing, you have loads of people's approaches are different as well, which is what should be celebrated. It's a shame that they're not paying for our flights over to Canada so we can actually be there and influence the result. But hey,
Oh dear. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I must admit, I have actually been to the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum some years ago now, which is a fantastic facility, but I'd love to have the opportunity to actually go across for the show, but I'm planning on going to the US Nationals next year, the first time ever. So
where is that?
Indianapolis. Was it Indianapolis? I think.
Yeah. I think it's Indianapolis, yeah.
Yeah. So that should be an interesting one. But I'm conscious of the time, and we've had you guys for nearly 2 hours now. But if listeners want to donate any kits or any other modelling paraphernalia, or just make a donation, how should they go about it? And are there any do's and don'ts?
So first things first, go to the website, modelsforheroes.org.uk. There is a big shiny green button at the top. You hit that and it says donate, and it'll take you to all the different ways that you can help us out, including sending us model kits. So the address is there, the list of things that we'd like no started model kits, please. So no glue or paint should have touched them. They could be taken off the sprues and sniffed and everything else. That's fine. But no glue or paint, please. And we also take magazines as well, as if they're reasonably modern. We'll take flying arrows off the side of Airfix kits as well. We accept those. It's all there on that donate button.
There is another one as well. What you understand is that there are lots of shows and stuff around the UK, and you quite often will find it at an M4H table with a pop a couple of quid in if you want. And remember that every year in March is the 48 and 48, where we do a 48-hour challenge, and there's always an auction involved there as well. And I can tell you now, next year's auction is going to be immense. I already know 3/4 of what we're going to be auctioning, and it's going to be over 3 days, or 2 days rather, of auctions. So
that's a really, really good event. That is 48 and 48. So that's 48-48.org. And that's we've raised 16 grand. I say you raised 16 grand for M4H last year. And your volunteers, James did. And it's really fun. You choose a kit, and then you build it for 40 hours, and you kind of hang out and tell lies, and and it's a great fun thing, and people refer to like the kits they built for the 48 and 48, with a great affection. So get involved. That's March next year.
It's all about taking part. That's about the promoting the community side of things. It literally is. You start a kit. You don't have to finish it. You could start 1/16 Andy Hobby's Sherman if you want to. You're not going to finish it in 48 hours, but you can start it. Or you can go really crazy. I mean, that's the thing as well. You tend to find, because obviously we've got some podcasts involved in that over the years. It's live on the YouTube channel, on the Model Officers YouTube channel, from 7:30 on the Friday in Australia, all the way through to 7:30 at night on the Sunday in America, which is the last time zone. But we have it all in the different time zones, so you can tune into your time zone and carry on, or you can go, do you know what? I'm going to be really crazy. I live in America, but I'm going to start and build with the Aussies and finish with the Aussies, if that works out with your work calendar or whatever. And it's great. It's a great entertainment. The auctions are last year. The guys in America are just amazing, really amazing. They had so much stuff they had to do over 2 days. And the good thing for us in the UK is we didn't go quite as mad. So we can step up. How the Americans are going to step up next year is beyond me, but I guarantee you they will, because they've already thrown the gauntlet out, and that's it. It's done. So yeah, it's a great event. We have a few celebrities every now and then drop us a message and say hello. You can build along, you can watch, you can donate directly. The website that was mentioned, the 48-48.org, that's now a given thing. That's been donated to the charity as their 48 and 48 website, which you can go and buy merch for last year, or this year rather, nil. But in where we're now, next month, I think you'll find is the 26th merch will start appearing. And we're going to put a few things out for the first couple of months, which will be limited to buy it now, basically. And then after the Christmas period, it'll be merch that you can only get through that period of time. So grab yourself a t-shirt or a hat or whatever. We did try and do a shower curtain, but it didn't work. So, but a lot of people were very interested in the shower curtain.
I'm not doing a shower curtain. Okay, just get it done. Write that down. We're not doing a shower curtain. Well, I'm not anyway.
Well, I've got M4A stockings down. I've written that down. Kindly thought about from Brownie. So, yeah, we're going to try and do something like that this year, or next year rather. So, yeah, and you'd be amazed actually. We can do some pretty crazy stuff. So, an overage duck, maybe, to put your bath.
Maybe.
As we said publicly, we're here to actually help you guys in any way that we can. And any excess of sponsorship or anything we get at the end of each year for covering our costs for actually hosting the bod, everything is coming to Models for Heroes. And we've said that publicly from day one. So that's all the intention. That will always be the intention. But we also have a stand at Scale Model World, as we're the official pod for IPMS UK. We are being given by Mr. Regan & Co. a facility to actually grab members of the public and either wring them their neck to get cash out of them for the charity or anything like that. So if you can actually arrange for us to have a collection tin on the desk, that'll be fantastic.
I can certainly do that. Absolutely. I will also draw your attention to the code of practice for fundraising regulator. And I don't think throttling is one of the allowed.
Yeah, I know shaking them one way by the throat is actually a good way of getting cash out of them. The coins sort of half fall out of the pockets these days. But anyway, yes.
Yes, true. Yeah, we don't worry about coins. Don't worry about coins. It's the notes you want.
I see. You see now, it's not that. It's all contactless, isn't it?
It's the notes you want. Yeah, I gather that. But
she's just got to hold them at the desk long enough.
That's another conversation completely. Anyway, to finish off, Nevs.
I was just going to, well, obviously, like you were saying, Brownie, we've held these two gentlemen hostage long enough, but obviously we've not really touched on your podcast, which is obviously Just Making Conversation. Been listening over the weekend, fantastic. And obviously, James, hearing your recovery from the heart surgery last year has really been quite inspiring. And obviously, I would just say that our listeners, anyone interested in the Akagi build, which you were talking about, which is absolutely fascinating, by the way, can hear that from the podcast. And I'm really reassured that you found the figures. That was going to be my question, like where you're up to getting the figures. And obviously you sorted there.
Oh, I'm still at a point where I'm open to more figures and different designs. Basically, Japanese sailors. God, this sounds like a really weird thing to say, but Japanese sailors are really hard to come by. Certainly in 1/35th.
Yeah.
And for us in the UK, anything Japanese really is unusual-ish, I would say, to a point. Mind you, I'm saying that knowing that I never really looked for anything Japanese before, so I probably don't know. But certainly figures-wise, I did ask a couple of guys. I won't name them because that would be unfair, but people that are in a position where they might be able to make figures for me to look into it. But again, it's difficult for them too. So whether something will come up from that, I don't know. But certainly the ones I've got, the difficulty I've got is that modifications are going to need to happen.
Yeah.
And I've got to figure out what I need in what pose and how many of them, etc., which I haven't got to that point yet. So I need to figure all of that bit out and find somebody who is confident enough to do alterations on figures to maybe be able to teach that. Maybe that's something we can do with the beneficiaries. Maybe that's something that would work. I can send a box out with some wire and the relevant stuff, and we can tackle that subject. Again, it's just another process in which people can benefit from. So, and I'm fortunate in the fact that it wouldn't matter to me if a figure was perfectly painted or whether it had eyes pointing in different directions. It doesn't matter because I know that figure's been made by X, Y, and Z, and it's in the build. That's all that matters to me. The aim is to take it to Telford for 1 year and to take it to Europe possibly 1 year, depending on whether I can afford it or not, if I'm honest. But they're just goals that I have for it. So yeah, it's a really interesting process. The round tables have really brought up a lot. I dragged Malcolm into the last one. I made him host it because I talked too much. He told me that. Who knew? It's fascinating to listen to Bill, for example, drop a little hint about something to him, and you can see his brain just go off into a different direction with things, and then you're bouncing stuff off each other, and it's really great to see. It's fascinating to watch. So yeah, please check it out and get involved. And if you've got questions or anything about it, or you want to be involved in some way, or you think, oh, I know I can get figures here for that, blah blah blah, then drop me a bell and get involved, because that again, it's about getting the community involved. So, but yeah, thank you. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time. James has actually managed to stay up beyond his bedtime, because I can see on, there's 9:30 at night.
Oh, I didn't see the time.
9:45.
Well, my mummy's going to tell me off.
Yes, good grief. Time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for your time. Anything we can do to help, anything you want to actually show us publicity-wise, etc., for Models for Heroes, anything like that, please do not hesitate to get in touch. And we would like to invite you guys back on again a bit later in the year to actually go more in depth on 48 and 48.
Yeah.
And what's actually going to be available and how all of us can actually help you.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much. The only one thing I would want to add is, if you have listened to this and you do think that you could be a beneficiary and you could get support from Models for Heroes, please do hop onto the website and click on the Get Support button, and then all the details are on there about how you can get support from us. So we want people to feel supported. But yeah, thank you very much indeed for advocating for H. It's really, really, really helpful, and hopefully it'll help somebody. Someone will listen, and I'm sure you've got one or two listeners.
Just one or two, yes.
So somebody might, someone will listen and go, that's a good idea. Or my mate Bob or something, will help them. So really good. Thank you.
As long as one person gets some assistance, it's the whole thing been worthwhile.
Correct.
Gents, thank you very much. We'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers, James.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
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 Bye.
Thank you. Bye.